Traditional archaeological evidence for the Claudian invasion. It should come as no surprise that all of the archaeological evidence for the Claudian invasion revolves around a single imagining of Cassius Dio. The supposed victory arch of Claudius, with its corrupted and appropriated inscription, remains the keystone for traditionalists' belief in Dio's tale and the pseudo-genesis of British history. The numismatic evidence is simply an extension of this farce and equally defective. The confused, convenient, and apparently harmonious appearance of both arch and coin caricatures, the contemporary and continued cynical appropriation and entanglement of benign and bogus archaeological finds since the Renaissance. Nevertheless, this chapter will humbly humour the professed existence of Dio and the authenticity of his record, in order to objectively analyse the literary evidence surrounding the associated archaeology. It shall also address the locality and context of the assumed material evidence, and also the fabled inscription, which supposes to settle Dio's credibility. The associated coinage will be given equal attention, specifically in relation to the date and location of its physical discovery and its place amongst the numismatic fashion of ancient coins during the Renaissance. Claudius's Victory Arch. In 1548, the first publication of Cassius Dio stated that the Senate, on learning of Claudius' achievement, voted that 2 triumphal arches should be erected, one in the city and the other in Gaul, because it was from that country that he had set sail when he crossed over to Britain. The credible Suetonius, however, makes no such assertions. He only reports that Claudius celebrated a triumph of great splendour, and set a naval crown on the gable of the palace beside the civic crown, as a sign that he had crossed and, as it were, subdued the ocean. Moreover, Suetonius provides a specific record of Claudius's 3 notable building programs. The public works which he completed were great and essential rather than numerous. They were in particular the following: an aqueduct begun by Gaius Caligula, the outlet of Lake Fucinus, and the harbour at Ostia. He makes no reference whatsoever to a triumphal monument anywhere in his extensive accounts. In fact, there is absolutely no literary evidence alluding to a victory arch of Claudius before Dio's 16th century publication. The 8th century Codex Einsidensis, which provides an itinerary for pilgrims arranged in 11 crossings of the city of Rome in various directions from gate to gate, makes no record or mention of Claudius's victory arch. Neither do any of the medieval plans of the city, nor do the 16th century topographical writings of Rome. Likewise, Piero Ligorio, the famous Neapolitan antiquarian of the 16th century, does not reference a victory arch of Claudius. The glaring absence of any corroborative literary evidence for Dio's monumental claim does not invite confidence in his credibility. Location. In 1641, a century after Dio's work first appeared, and as Pope Innocent X perniciously interfered with the religious wars enveloping the British Isles, fragmentary evidence of the fanciful victory arch was incredibly revealed. According to A. Barrett's authoritative report, the largest known fragment of the main Attic inscription was unearthed during excavations on the corner of the Piazza Sciarra and the Via de Caravita in Rome. Giacinto Gili's unpublished 17th century diary confirms that an excavation at the site revealed fragmentary remains of sculptures and fluted columns of giallo antico, yellow marble. He also notes that these fragments were 5 meters below the ground level, and does not mention the inscription. In 1869, another excavation at the same corner of Piazza de Sciarra produced a booted leg and, on a different scale, a small rider, but which have since disappeared. In addition, further fragments of fluted columns in giallo antico and plain columns of granite were also found amongst the excavated earth. The sources appear unequivocal. A subterranean structure had previously existed beneath this specific corner of the Piazza de Sciarra. However, this discovery was neither remarkable nor revelatory. The subterranean structure had already been seen and recorded in its entirety in the 16th century. An excavation at this precise location in 1562 had revealed the entombed arches of the Aqua Virgo aqueduct. The discovery was illustrated and documented in situ by Piero Ligorio. He was an accomplished artist, antiquarian, architect, and engineer who had moved to Rome in his 20s. His skills saw him employed by cardinals and popes, and jealously despised by his contemporaries. He was officially recognized for his contributions to the culture of Rome by being made an honorary citizen of the city in 1560. David R. Coffin highlights that only three other artists received such recognition in the 16th century: Michelangelo, Titian, and Fra Guglielmo della Porta. However, it was only Ligorio who was concurrently empowered by the Pope to look after the ancient remains in Rome. Ligorio's detailed illustration of the exposed aqueduct, its arches and attic, shows the structure in its entirety, and before it was dismantled and sold off. It shows 4 piers, including 2 wider central examples, which are both adorned with 2 fluted columns, on which an aqueducto ran, and a central attic which sits above all else. The attic itself bears a facade of 4 columns, in between which the central space bears an inscription. The structure of the wording appears central and is clearly not aligned to either the left or the right. The inscription consists of 6 lines of text above a series of dashes. Additionally, he records smaller inscriptions on the bases of the central piers, which note the relations and offspring of Claudius, but warns that the characters had suffered on account of their excavation and age. Ligorio signifies respective areas where sculptured figures adorn the structure, but does not attempt to imitate them. The diary of the Italian sculptor Flaminius Vacca confirms the excavation date during Pius IV's papacy, and reports that the arch's ornate adornments were bought by John George Casarinus, and that they now stand in his garden near St. Peter ad Vincula. Vacca himself bought the remaining 136 cartloads of the dismantled structure. This large consignment can be presumed to have consisted of the most rudimentary elements of the demolition, most suited to Vacca's profession. The sculptor remembers that all the remaining marble stones were afterwards removed by the Romans and used in the work on the upper staircase going to the Capitol. After the 1562 excavation and the extraction of anything suitable for sculpture, sail, or staircases, only irrelevant and unusable fragments and rubble remained within the ground at the corner of Piazza di Sciarra. It remains uncontested that the excavated structure was a section of the Aqua Virgo. John Murray's 19th century A Handbook of Rome and its Environs informs upon the basic characteristics of this particular aqueduct. Its course is subterranean, with the exception of about 1,240 paces, of which 700 are on arches. A portion of the aqueduct which conveyed the Aqua Virgo from the Pinean to the Campus Martius may be seen in the house number 12 of the Via del Nazareno. The arches and piers are completely buried in the ground, but on the face of the aqueduct is an interesting inscription stating that it was repaired by Claudius in 52 AD, after having been ruined, disturbatos, by Caligula. The full inscription appears thus. Aside from confirming that the Aqua Virgo's arches were subterranean, the content of both inscriptions are remarkably similar. However, the Piazza di Sciarra inscription appears to have been compacted into the available attic space. The resultant 6 lines of inscription appear truncated, which has forced the division of the word Virgine across 2 lines. The presentation is conspicuously unconsidered compared to the subterranean inscription at number 12, which is ordered and presentable. Moreover, the most impressive adornments of the Piazza di Sciarra arches were below ground level. No visible characteristics of the structure are remotely aesthetic, nor conducive to even the most modest triumphal monument. Furthermore, and ignoring the evidence that this is patently an underground structure, the arches are demonstrably too narrow to have traversed the main artery that led north from the city, the Via Lata, as Barrett claims. Both of the inscriptions provide only relative, concise, and practical information. Who was responsible for the work, when it was completed, and why was it done? The extant arch at number 12 provides the information that Claudius repaired the foundations of the Aqua Virgo aqueduct in the 11th year of his reign because they had been ruined by Caligula. Likewise, Claudius appears responsible for the work done on the aqueduct's arches at the corner of the Piazza di Sciarra during the same year. According to Ligorio's 1562 transcription, Claudius's reasoning also appears clear. Publis commodus, for the people. It is quite likely that the series of dashes beneath the inscription at the Piazza di Sciarra, which Ligorio was unable to transcribe and did not care to suppose, were relatively insignificant. Indeed, contemporary inscriptions from various insignificant points along the Aqua Virgo's course share a common word structure with predictable administrative information, which is generic and comparable to a modern-day lamppost. Typically, the inscription's last line provides a reference number or marker for that particular section in the course of the aqueduct and its distance from the next marker. Ligorio could be forgiven, or at least understood, for not concerning himself over illegible and defunct aqueduct marker reference numbers when making his record. Prior to the structure's demolition in 1562, the intact Attic inscription did not appear remarkable in content or presentation, nor did it relate to Britain in any way. Indeed, had the inscription evidenced Britain's submission to Rome, it would have been an opportune discovery and employed by Rome against the renegade state. Concurrently, Elizabeth II was re-establishing the Church of England and Church of Ireland's independence from Rome's authority. Even after the Pope's Regnans in Excelsis excommunicated Elizabeth, the Attic inscription remained totally unassociated with Britain. It must therefore be presumed that Ligorio's transcription was accurate and faithful. The subterranean condition of the arches cripples Dio's floundering credibility irredeemably. However, and unperturbed by this fundamental detail, Barrett resiliently claims that Claudius built his British arch over the Via Lata at the corner of Piazza de Sciarra. The academic's indoctrinated belief in Dio's fable has him ignoring the basic laws of gravity and the well-documented topography of Rome. As already highlighted, the extant arches at number 12 Via del Nazareno remain beneath ground level. Furthermore, they are less than half a kilometre northeast of the Piazza di Sciarra. The suggestion that the Aqua Virgo mysteriously raised its aquatic cargo up and over the Via Lata is simply incredible. Nevertheless, Barrett does so. He excuses this farce by claiming that there is no certainty about the arch's height, which cannot be calculated with any confidence because of the uncertainty over the ground level of the Piazza di Sciarra in Claudius' time, a shocking justification considering the self-evident and relative permanence of the arch's height at the Via del Nazareno. Nor does Barrett's flippant explanation consider the extant ancient structures of the Appian Way, the Colosseum, and the Pantheon, which decry his fanciful reasoning of fluctuating ground levels. In conclusion, there is no literary source to corroborate Dio's fantastical arch before his 16th century publication. Moreover, the only reliable record of the subsequently appropriated Attic inscription of the Aqua Virgo, drawn in its entirety and in situ by the Pope's official antiquarian, provides only that Claudius completed the work for the people. Furthermore, the additional information upon it was unremarkable and predictable, and its presentation was relatively unconsidered. The structure's ornate features, which evidently adorned its subterranean arches, remained invisible to those above ground, and was therefore not monumental. The structure was not even a single arch, but several, while its positioning, stature, substance and style was conspicuously unlike any triumphal monument ever seen or recorded. The topography of Rome and the basic laws of gravity disallow the incredible claims that the structure rose up and over the Via Lata from its subterranean forerunner at number 12 Via del Nazareno, located just half a kilometre away. Even if such fantastical feats were humoured momentarily, the narrow gauge of the structure's arches could accommodate little more than a footpath, never mind a principal highway of Rome. In short, this well-documented ancient aquatic structure has been cynically or ignorantly appropriated to give credence to Dio's Renaissance farce. The wider purpose of this action was to revive Rome's paternalism over Britain, which was faltering significantly and, unbeknownst to all, irredeemably.